2024 has been an exciting year for movie fans. We've had some amazing sequels like Dune 2, entertaining and original films like The Fall Guy, and some remakes like Twisters. This summer especially was packed with some exciting titles that seemed promising. But it ended up being a huge disappointment. And on my opinion, I think that those two movies are Trap and A Quiet Place Day One. Those two movies were probably some of the worst movies I've ever seen. I am a huge Quiet Place fan and I love thriller and horror movies, even though I haven't seen very many horror. And both of these films had such good potential to be very good, but it ended up being a huge waste of my time and the cast and crew. So in this video, I'm going to be dissecting every movie from each angle, and I'm doing it from directing, scripting, cinematography, acting, all those different places. So it's going to be a load of information. So let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm going to start with Trap because I have a lot of things to say about it. If you haven't seen the movie, I recommend going and seeing the trailer before you watch the movie so you can kind of understand what the plot is, because I'm not going to be giving very much context. And it is my first point of criticism. So I recently joined the AMC Stubs members, so that means I get 3 free movie tickets a week. And it's only for $19 a month, so if you're a big movie fan, I recommend it. I'm not sponsoring it or anything, like, it's been amazing. So with that said, me and my cousin were like, ooh, we should go see a movie. And we're like, oh, Trap, that looks good. So we decided to go see it the day it came out. I watched the trailer before I went into the movie because I wasn't just going to go see it blindly. And I was instantly hooked. Like, it was so good. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a great story. So we went to the movie, and within the first 2 minutes, they were already messing up basic cinematography. So if you don't know, like, basics of cinematography, I'm going to show you guys a short real fast that I found on YouTube that explains it better than I ever could.
Cinematography basics. Composition. Rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a classic composition technique that divides the frame into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. The idea is to place the subject or key elements of a shot along the lines or at the intersection of these lines. This creates a balanced and visually interesting shot that draws the viewer's eye to the subject. The rule of thirds is a versatile technique that can be used in a variety of shots, from landscapes to close-ups.
So I'm going to be using my picture frame to show you guys some of the camera angles that we had. And like, granted, this isn't the exact like frame, but like, you'll get the general picture of how wacky it was, guys. Like, it was bad. It was so bad. And even at one point, there was a scene of 2 lines of people. So like, this is the screen. 2 lines of people. You would line it up exactly in the rule of thirds. One line was right here, and the other one was like barely off-centered, and then there's just like, it was ugly. Like, it didn't it looked so bad, guys. Most of the dialogue, it was straight on camera shots. So this is, I'm pretty sure, yeah. So this is how all the dialogue looked. The shoulders were like this, and the head was just center. So what the camera was doing, it was doing like this whole, like, somebody would be saying a line, and then it would switch to the next person saying the line like this. And that was just how each conversation went. It was just front. It was never, they didn't do the 180 rule, which drove me crazy because it just felt so, like, choppy and ugly. So another big point is this movie did not have enough explanation. So like, there's supposed to be like this whole plot with like his mom, but they didn't give any context to it. So like, I just had so many questions by the end of the movie, like, why was she so important to him and stuff? And, like, he was sensitive about it, which is the thing. And, like, she's obviously dead, and she keeps on showing up and stuff. And, like, he's super, like, sensitive about the whole topic. And there's, like, a point where one of the characters is, like, pretending to do, like, a mom talk to him to, like, get him to stop. And then he, like, reacts, like, super, like, sensitive about it. So like, it didn't give us any context to why, because there's so many things that could have happened with that. That's not something that the audience can just assume. There's like so many questions that you could ask, because like, did he murder her? Like, was she his first victim? Or, and like, did he have to like start killing to cover up his tracks of murdering her kind of thing, so he just felt guilty? Was she murdered and then he was getting revenge? Like, there's just so many things that could have happened. Or did she just like die naturally and he didn't want to disappoint her? Like, we don't know. So and halfway through the movie, he goes, yeah, in all my years of being a firefighter. We didn't know that. Like, there was no context to it, because, like, I know at the beginning of the movie, he was like, yeah, I was able to get off work to go to this concert. It would have been different if there was, like, a little explanation of him, like, leaving the fire station or something. Like, there was just, it was so weird. And a good movie gives you questions at the beginning of it, and then it answers it by the end of it. Like Ocean's 11. Beginning of the movie, oh, we have to pull off a heist. By the end of the movie, you know how they pull off the heist. That's a good movie because it gives you a question at the beginning and then it answers it at the end. You're not supposed to leave the audience with questions unless you're going to make a sequel. Or else it's just, like, unsatisfying. Like, I still feel so unsatisfied by that movie. And not in, like, a good creative way. Like, it wasn't in a good, like, eerie, like, ooh, I feel on edge kind of a thing. It was like this felt like an incomplete project. Which is no bueno. Okay, and in Trap, he's super scared of getting caught. But they said that they don't know what he looks like. They have, like, possibilities. And then they listed, like, 10 different tattoos that he could possibly have. But they were all such a wide variety. Like, in The Amazing Spider-Man, how Peter recognizes one of his, like, the person that murdered Uncle Ben was by the star tattoo. That's specific. But, like, in the movie Trap, they were like, he has, like, a mammal of a sort on his wrist. And it was, like, the most random tattoo, guys. Like, the star is so specific, but, like, it was, like, a goat or something. I don't even remember. This whole thing feels like a fever dream. But, like, and, like, it never said, like, how he would be able to get caught. Like, the tattoo thing was like, yeah, there's so many other ways that you could get away with having a tattoo. Like, it was so small. Not saying he could cut it off, but, like, he could have. You know, like, there's just so many things that, yeah, it just didn't really make sense. Another big problem about this movie was everything was way too easy for him. So, like, there's a whole scene where they're having a SWAT meeting. He was just, like, eavesdropping, very obviously, and then gets through and is like, hey guys, sorry I work here. It was just not it. Okay, and then leaving the building, he, like, I don't even know, guys, like, he was trying to escape the concert and he was able to, and they were like, oh, we have to check every single man, but then he was still able to get out of it, and the lady was just like, no, just let him through. Like, typically in those situations, they're like, I don't care what the pop star says. I think we know better because we're the frickin' FBI. Like, okay, and then there's another scene where his whole house was surrounded. He hid in a pantry and then crawled out of a vent. The whole house was surrounded. He was able to get out, I think, through the garage. Explain how that would work. He had the whole house surrounded. But wait, there's more. He was able to get clothes from, like, one of the drivers or something. No, it was like one of the guards or whatever. He stole their clothes and then got in a limo and started driving away with the celebrity. And then, but wait, there's more. And there's no context to this. They're just like, oh, he's in the house. And then the next thing you know, the woman's getting driven away. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's him. And I was like, literally, the whole movie experience, this was me. I'm sitting there and I go, what? Because I was so confused. Like, it made no sense. Oh my gosh. Anyway. And then, but wait, there's more, guys. There's a scene where the crowd realizes that the actress lady is in the car. So everybody crowds around her. He is able to get out in a pressing crowd and run after, like, a couple seconds. That's, like, not possible. Like, without it being noticed. Like, and I only noticed him in the crowd because I was looking for him. Because it was literally, like, the car stopped, the crowd pressed in, then she's, like, in the car, like, rolling down the window trying to talk to people, and then it pans to the crowd, and then right here his head was. Not center, not even on a rule of third. It was, like, an awkward, like, right. I guess that is kind of a rule of third. It was still a little off, though. Like, it was barely off center. And then, like, he was just standing there, like, with his hands in his pockets, like. At the very end of the movie, he bends down and ends up grabbing something from a bike. You wouldn't have been able to hide that or grab it quickly without anybody realizing it. Like, it wasn't a well-done movie. It was almost like they threw it together, like, nobody's gonna ask questions how this would make sense logically. But, like, I wasn't even trying to watch the movie, like, criticizingly. Like, I was just trying to enjoy the movie, but I was just confused the whole time. Okay, so Trap was rated PG-13, and it was listed, I think, as a horror. There was no blood. No blood. Like, I can't even think there was, like, a bloody nose or anything. Like, there was no blood. And it briefly showed his victims, but you could just tell that it was dismembered body parts throughout a section, but they were covered. So, like, let's say it was, like, me. You would see just my hand sticking out, but the blanket would be covering the rest of it. But you're like, oh, it's a dismembered body part. Even though it's probably just a bunch of actors laying around with their limbs sticking out. Like, it was so stupid. But yeah, there's, like, no blood or screaming violence at all. Like, oh my gosh. They could have made the movie a little bit better. Because there's this one scene where the actress lady, she steals his phone and runs to the bathroom and hides. And he's banging on the door. And his family members are like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you going crazy? I was actually so stressed out in this because I was like, he's gonna kill them. And you hear a glass break and then a scream and then it's just silence. And I was like, oh my gosh, he killed them. Like, yes. Finally, something good is happening that, like, you know, it's gonna make the movie so much more intense because now he has more stakes. Because now he just murdered his family and then now he has to get rid of a celebrity who's gonna tell on him, kind of a thing. Like, it could have just made the movie so much more intense. And then he opens up the door and half of his body's in the door frame. And he was just like, steps to the side. I was expecting there to be blood on the other half of his body. There was nothing. He locked him in their room upstairs. I was so disappointed. Like, I'm not a violent person, but I was watching a horror movie. And I was watching it and I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. It's about a murderer called The Butcher. And he's like going crazy right now. Like, this is gonna be good. Like, I'm a big Joker fan. And there's something about a psychotic person, like, losing it, you know? Like, it's satisfying. Only in cinema, though. But there was nothing. Like, that could have been so cool. And, like, the way that they had it, too, is, like, he was halfway in the doorframe, and he was like, and he, like, stepped to the side. I was expecting to be, like, you just made me kill my family, kind of a thing. Like, it could have been so cool. But it wasn't. It was quite the disappointment, actually. That sounds so violent of me to be like, I wish he murdered his family. But, like, I was watching a horror movie. That's what I expect from a horror movie, and it just did not deliver. Oh, and then the only thing that was, like, somewhat intense was they tased him at the end of the movie. That was it. So, kind of lame. There is too much talk and not enough show. And for writing books and stuff, that's really important, because you can't show someone that's what's happening in a book, because they're not there to see it. But for movies, you're supposed to show and do less talk. And, like, a good example of this is, instead of... So, like, in Toy Story 4, when Andy has to decide between, like, Bo Peep or the toys, you see him, he looks at her, he looks at the toys, he looks at her, and then his hands start relaxing. And that's when you register, oh, he's gonna go with the toys, or whatever happens. But that's good, because in a book, it would be, looks over at her and says, I'm sorry, I have to go. Because you can't see the expression. But in movie, you're supposed to show it. And this... There's one scene specifically that will just haunt me for the rest of my life because it's so cheesy. And, like, I'm not a professional scriptwriter. I've written crappy scripts. But this was able to be premiered. They probably had a really expensive budget. Like, and they did it so bad. But literally it was a scene between... It was so awkward. She's, like, standing in this doorway. He's standing in the doorway. She comes up and is like, hey, you did a great show, by the way. And he's like, thanks, you too. Where are you off to next? I'm going to be in LA. Okay, I'll see you there. Give this scriptwriter an Oscar. For the worst scene I have ever seen in my life. Like, that was, like, the most childish dialogue. Like, where are you off to next? LA. Okay, I'll see you there. People text like that, but, like, I don't know. That was just disappointing and stupid. And also just the dialogue kind of just sucked overall. And it was so, like, yeah. just, yeah. Really bad acting is my next point I'm going to talk about, except for the lead. This movie could have been a sleigh if there was good directing, cinematography, and script writing, but he killed the role. Like, he did really well. Like, even towards the end of it, like, you just see, like, I was telling my cousin this after we left the movie. I was like, personally, like, there's this one scene where he's talking to his wife and he's about to kill her, and she knows that. So it's just like this super, really intense scene. And I was saying how personally I would be scared to act with him because, like, you see it in his eyes that he's, like, insane. And it was really impressive. Like, it gave me, like, chills. Like, I was kind of like, it was very, like, haunting how he played the role, which was really good. It's just, like, the script was just horrible. And, like, it, yeah. But he did a really good job overall. Okay, another part that did not make sense was the part where the celebrity goes, no, I'm gonna actually drive you guys to your house in my limo. Anybody in their right mind would go, no, you're not. I'm not leaving my car downtown. I instantly thought that. I was like, what about their car? And, like, they were complaining. I'm pretty sure they were complaining that it was, like, long away, like, a long distance kind of a thing. Like, I would have been like, okay, well, maybe we can do a ride later. I'm gonna take my car home. Like, sure, that's not a big thing, but I was kind of just like, I feel like you need to think about that and have a reason to contradict that. But yeah. And it just felt misplaced. Like, it was, like, very much like and we're moving the story along kind of a thing. But yeah, so that's kind of all I have to talk about it. So overall, it was a horrible movie. If you've seen it, let me know. And if you liked it, let me know. I would love to fight you. I'm joking. But I'm just curious to see why you would like it, or if you're just super uneducated. A couple shots I'm going to talk about, though, that really stuck out to me was how everything was just straight on like this. And then there's this one scene. Oh, also, a lot of it was, like, upward. So if you're looking, you're not going to see it. But, like, it was, like, this upward, like, you do it in, like, scenes where there's supposed to be a lot of tension between the characters. Just because, like, and then with, like, the kind of music. But it was just for basic dialogue. And I was like, excuse me? Why? And, like, it was acceptable for the end of the movie when something was happening. Like, when he was revealing that he was actually the murderer. Like, if he was holding a knife or something, like, that would have been good. Like, it was just for basic dialogue. They're like, where are we seated? And it was, like, all the way up there. It was just dumb. And then this last camera angle I'm going to talk about. Something happened to this person. That was his fault. And he was watching because he was trying to make a diversion. And then, so it was just like, you're watching the scene. I'm pretty sure the person was, like, here on the screen. And then it switches to him. This is what it looked like in the theater. Except for it was more of a boring background. Like, no, it was this. Like this. Half of his face. And then there's just a wall. And he was just like, pardon? Like, it was so random. And you see, like, there's one movie where I've seen that shot do good. I like those shots if it's an extreme, like, a really, like, a close-up. And it's their glasses, and it's a reflection of what's happening, and then they, like, smile. Especially if they're, like, a villain. Like, that sounds like something the Joker would do. Like, that's cool. I like that. But it was just an elevator and, like, a stairwell. And he was just like, I don't know. No bueno. So yeah, that's what I thought about that movie. Fight me in the comments if you liked it, and tell me the reasons why you liked it, because I would love to try to understand why you liked it, or if you're just really uneducated. But yeah, now we're going to move on to A Quiet Place Day 1. Actually, before we move on to A Quiet Place Day 1, I wanted to give you guys a little disclaimer. So there is a difference between creative style and just being a bad movie. Creative style is like obeying the basic film rules, but then adapting it to your vision. So, like, you have, like, your standard of what you're supposed to do, and then you can add to that. You're not supposed to take away from that, if that makes sense. It's not a creative style to disregard basic film rules. Because when you do that, it just creates a project that looks unfinished. and it's not satisfying. Film is an art, and to showcase the art, you gotta package it properly. And you obey the packaging rules so it doesn't look messy and unfinished. And it doesn't leave the viewers saying, like, what the frick did I just watch? So yeah, a lot of people have been saying, like, someone who I talked to this with is like, oh, that's the director's style. It looks sloppy. And you can, like, when I watch Greta Gerwig's movie, I can tell it's one of her movies because of the style that it has. It's not disobeying any film rules, but it has a specific style to it. That's the same with, like, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Yeah, like, his movies are super, like, you can just tell. Or, like, isn't the guy that created La La Land, he does a thing with color grading? Like, he still followed the basic rules, but then he added some of his own. Like, nowhere it says you can't add filters. Editing people are like, color grading, filters. Okay, so A Quiet Place Day 1. I'm gonna be so honest with y'all. I went to go see it in a drive-in movie, and then partway through the movie when I realized that I did not care at all. I'm someone that loves to finish movies. Like, I hate just, like, leaving a movie and just never completing it. And I did technically finish watching the movie, but I started talking to my friends and stuff. If you're one of those ladies watching that was fun. But, like, I just didn't care anymore. Like, it was just so repetitive and stupid. So we're gonna dissect that a little bit. And granted, I didn't watch every single frame because we were chatting. So yeah, I don't have too many things on the analysis of the movie, but I know just, like, some basic things that I did not like about it. To start out with, I guessed the whole movie. Like, literally within the first 2 minutes, I was like, okay, a black woman with cancer, her last wish is to go to New York and buy pizza, but then the aliens hit. I know Eddie from Stranger Things is in it, and she has a cat. They're gonna try to make us get it. They're gonna get us to care about the cat and Eddie, and then we're going to watch their relationship grow. It's probably not going to be anything, like, too romantic or anything. Like, it's not a love story, it's just they're helping each other. And then, at the very end, she's going to sacrifice herself to save the man and the cat, and they're going to get to safety. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, but I just spoiled it. I liked how she died, though. I love how this whole video I've just been so, like, morbid. But, like, I like how she died with the song. That's a good song. And that's a good way to die. Listening to a song. But, yeah, so I thought it was really stupid. I thought it was kind of a waste of A Quiet Place movie. It was a waste of my time and the cast. I also kind of think it's odd that John Krasinski has written 2 movies that has to do with people dying of cancer. Someone check on Mr. Krasinski, please, because I do not want him to die of cancer. But yeah, so yeah, I that's the only points I have, is it just didn't make me care. Like, it was, like, good enough of characters that you were, like, cool, but then, like, you didn't care about them. Like, I feel like for the first 2 movies, like, you see how John Krasinski's character, like, loves his family and is, like, doing anything to protect them. You're like, oh my gosh, he's such a good dad, kind of a thing. Like, you start to care about him. So when he dies, it's, like, the end of the world, right? But, like, for these characters, I was kind of like, oh no, she's dead. Oh no. And then I know that they put the cat in there because everybody just has emotional attachments to animals nowadays, which is so real. I love cats. Not as much as I love dogs, though. It's like 55% love dogs and then 45% love cats, just so you guys know. So yeah, it's just like, I just didn't care. I really just did not care. And yeah. What else was I gonna say to that? But yeah, that's the end of the video. That's all I have to say about those. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know. If you think I'm wrong on anything, please let me know. If I misspoke about something, also let me know. Because, yeah, I always make mistakes because I'm a human. And I've only taken, like, 1 film class. And other than that, I'm all self-taught. And I watch a lot of movies. So, but yeah, what's your thoughts about the creative and film rules Because a lot of people think that art shouldn't have rules, but I personally think that, like, some elements of it do have to have rules. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. Go check out my other film analysis videos that I've made, like the one about Mean Girls. I think I have another one too. I can't remember though. But yeah, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye!